and I thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Everything New in My Garden. My new project, new information, new orchids, new updates, definitely everything new. Okay folks, now you guys remember my very big girl Vanda here. This is the one that I was actually contemplating on doing a propagation on because she was just not that healthy at all, and I just felt that it would be better to perhaps propagate her and have some more plants. So indeed I gave her the ultimatum. I said, look here gal, if you don't straighten up after I dedicate myself to taking better care of you, making sure you're getting the water that you're needing, and if you don't straighten up your act, I guarantee you I will take the knife to you and I will snip, 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 or slice, slice, slice. Well, let me tell you folks, she absolutely heard me and she decided to fight back, indeed, by unleashing her roots. Okay, now you guys remember, she absolutely did not have any of these roots right here, okay? Now she has roots here, there, and everywhere, also in the back. I can't show you right now, but they are coming from everywhere. And I just want to give you a better close-up on these roots that are just exploding from her stem. I mean, they're coming from everywhere. She indeed is letting me know that she is not ready to go. And you want to know something else, folks? I've had her for, I would say, about going on 4 years now. And she has only bloomed for me one time. Now, this is a Vanda, known to bloom 3 times a year if you're taking good care of her. Well, folks, she only gave me 1 bloom, but I want to show you something. Okay, do you see that, guys? Do you see what I see? That, my friend, is a spike that is about to come up, okay? So I wanted to let you guys know the difference, the massive difference that you can have with your orchid if you give it absolutely the right amount of care that it needs. Okay, Vandas are pretty much difficult to take care of. Not in the fact that you have to have some sort of formula and science and all this technology. No, not at all. But the fact that you have to be dedicated with Vandas. Vandas like to be watered because most of the time their roots are fully exposed. And they like to get their daily mistings once, twice, and even more than that sometimes, just depending on where you're at. So folks, if you cannot dedicate that time to doing that for this orchid, I'm telling you, I don't think Vandas are going to be really good for you. And if you do have a plant that survives, just like mine, which has survived for years with me, you won't get an abundance of blooms as you should be getting if you are taking the proper care of your orchid. So definitely keep that in mind when you guys start buying these orchids. I know it's quite addictive when you see beautiful blossoms and you just want to buy left and right. But folks, if you can't maintain them and they end up looking very, very sorry and weak, then you won't really be able to appreciate and enjoy them for what they truly are. So definitely keep that in mind, folks. And here we are, folks. This is an update on my Yerba Buena crossed with the Spiceranium. This is my Patio Pedalum, and as you can see, now I have 2 beautiful blossoms. And indeed, this is a beautiful mother and daughter pair. Double your pleasure because, wow, these gals are beautiful. Okay, folks, now you guys remember my humunga dunga of a Cattleya here. I actually had her underneath my tree, but folks, I mean, she was getting scalded up pretty bad from the sun. So I definitely had to find a safer place for her, and I didn't want to have to remove my radicans there because they are throughout my tree, and they were here first, for crying out loud. But what I did end up doing is I found a way to go ahead and kind of mount her into this tree and off to the side where she's not right on top of them. And if push comes to shove, I will cut back my radicans because, as you guys know, she is my prized Cattleya. So anything for this girl, and unfortunately I know you came here first Radican orchids, but she is a #1 with me, so definitely she comes first. Now she has a lot of new growths in there, but I'm not seeing any buds yet, so I am definitely finger crossing and hoping that soon, folks, soon she will show me some buds. Okay, folks, so this is my very first homegrown blooming Cattleya. I have a good close to 20 different Cattleyas, but none of them have come into bloom yet. And she actually is going to set the party off, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that the others will follow suit. I actually wanted to catch her in her prime because she was so gorgeous. This fuchsia on her outer skirt was so dark and beautiful. And then of course she has a tinge of yellow in her throat, and her entire outer petals, her sepals, also were fully in white. And she is just such a beautiful, dainty, sophisticated Cattleya. Truly love her. Unfortunately, again, she is fading, and I kept her out of my garden, and we've had some pretty brutal rain, so she kind of got banged up a little bit. But indeed, you can still see her beauty, and I'm hoping again that the other Cattleyas will go ahead and follow suit. This right here is my highly favored Psychopsis orchid. Now, if you guys remember when I first got this right here was actually a new growth, and as you can see now, folks, it is a full-sized leaf. So indeed, great growth on this one. Now, I also was wondering exactly how does this form its pseudobulb? Because I actually thought perhaps it would form another pseudobulb right here underneath this portion of the new growth. But as I looked further, I realized that inside of that part of the plant right here, in the casing, it actually will show you the bulb that is starting to come out. So this actually is not a part of the plant that will remain. This is sort of like a sheath that eventually will come off, exposing the new pseudobulb. So pretty interesting. And then after that, you will see a new growth, which will be the spike, and I'm hoping this one will provide me a spike. And as you guys know, this particular Psychopsis orchid went through a major bud blast. After I repotted this orchid, it became very agitated and it dropped its bud. But I am very happy to announce that in its place of that dropped bud, indeed there is another bud that has come forth. And now it has really grown in size, and as you guys are seeing, the pattern of the orchid is starting to come out. That color of that deep maroon or orange is really starting to show itself. So indeed, this is a very exciting blossom, one of my most favorite. So I am very excited to see this come forth. Also, as you can see, there is a new bud that has already began to form. Of course, you guys know this is a sequential bloomer, so after this drops, a new bud will come forth in its place. So yeah, it's getting ready. It's already following in line, preparing for this to drop. So indeed, this is a sequential bloomer. And here is my very beautiful, very fragrant Maxillaria tenuifolia orchid, smelling exactly like coconut. Now you guys know she was my rescue orchid, but as you guys can see now, she is really coming into full fruitation and very healthy. Indeed, my Maxillaria tenuifolia, a very exotic orchid, very beautiful, very fragrant, and is one of the reasons why this is my very favorite orchid. And this one right here, folks, is a rather large Cattleya plant that I have. And I actually purchased this one at the side of the road. I call them the side of the road vendors that you normally see selling orchids. And I got this for $15, and I've been very happy with this because it grows rapidly and it grows like crazy. Now, as you can see in the leaves, it's starting to really get this like blush color. And the blush color is quite normal. The only reason why it's there, and it won't rub off, it's It's nothing growing on there. It's just actually showing you that it's getting lots and lots of light. It's not burning the orchid, so I know it's doing well, and of course it's giving off its buds like crazy, so therefore it is liking the extra sunlight that now it is receiving. And let me go ahead and show you again the budding action that is going on here. This is one of the new growths, and now as you can see, the bud is starting to form. And soon I'll have a beautiful, beautiful blossom. And if we go ahead and take it over here, you're also going to see another bud formation, rather larger of course, an older bud, one that is about to blossom. And this orchid actually blooms such a beautiful, very light fuchsia purplish color. Now also, as I said, there's many new growths, and I really wish I could show you inside of here, because there is also a bud growing. I took a very close look in there, and there's a bud, a definite bud formation inside of this as well. So this will also soon be giving me a bud. And the nature of this orchid right here, being that it has lots and lots of new growth, what normally ends up happening is once it develops a new growth, it grows lots and lots of roots, and then it becomes very flimsy where it can very easily break off. And that's actually happened to me, where I accidentally hit this one in particular and it simply just broke off. So what I did is I of course just inserted it into this medium, and it grew its roots, and of course now it's growing like crazy as well. And even in its new growth, I also noticed a growth in there as well, which of course I am assuming that it is going to be a bud that will soon be coming out of here. And of course you probably won't be able to see it because it's rather dark in there, but again, there is growth inside of there as well, which really amuses me, because being that I broke this off of the original plant, usually when you have a division or a cutting from the plant, what happens is there's a certain setback in the plant where it does not bloom for a rather long amount of time. And that's because now that it's separated from the rest of the plant, this becomes weaker and it doesn't have enough energy to produce any buds off of there. So this really surprised me that it would still create a bud inside of the new growth. So now that I know that, I may, being that there are lots of new growth, I may decide to go ahead and make some divisions off of this, and not start off new plants in other containers, but definitely fill this up where there's going to be lots of leads coming from different areas, and that's going to make this actual plant a lot fuller. And this is an update on my Dendrobium spectabile. That's right, this is my alien orchid, and as you can see, he is very full, very healthy, and all of the new growths are now full-grown pseudobulbs. Oh, and I did forget to mention that indeed I adopted yet another one of these. Why? Because these are my favorite orchids, and because this is a little bit low and compact to the ground, maybe this is a dwarf. It didn't say it was a dwarf, but anyways, the reason why I got this much larger size is because I'm hoping that soon, and very soon, this guy will be ready to spike. At least that's what I'm hoping. Folks, I don't know if you guys quite remember my Cymbidium orchids. You guys know they've also went through a very rough process in which I had to remove a lot of rotten pseudobulbs, and then I proceeded to go ahead and divide them and then repot them all at one time. I wasn't quite sure whether or not it was going to be spikes or if it was going to be foliage or future pseudobulbs. Well folks, I am happy to announce, fortunately, because these Cymbidiums knew exactly what was best for them, that all of them have actually turned out to be future pseudobulbs. with lots and lots of healthy foliage. Right here, folks, is my collection of Dendrobium nobles. Of course, you guys know I started off with one, and it never gave me a bloom, but then it did give me finally a bloom. And after I seen its bloom, oh my gosh, I became Dendrobium nobly addicted for real. So I've been collecting them, and these are my collection thus far. There are quite a few that I want on my list, so you know it doesn't stop here, folks. Now, of course, you see that they no longer have any blossoms. Oh my gosh, I'm shedding a tear right now, folks. But that doesn't mean that the excitement is over, because the journey has just begun, folks. So let's take a closer look. Now, I do understand, folks, that there are some of you that once they lose all of their foliage, and of course drop all of their blossom, they have a tendency to lose interest, because now you are left with what looks like sticks and cane. That doesn't mean the excitement is over for me, because I actually love to see all of the little keikis starting to come up. As you can see here, starting off as looking like a little nubbin. Then of course you see here it's a bigger nubbin, but now you see some roots. And then you will eventually see this, folks, which is a lot bigger nubbin. Let me see if I can get it fully in the frame. But as you can see, the roots are coming up, and now you see also the foliage breaking through as well. So with these new plantlets and keikis, this starts off another exciting adventure, because soon I will take them off here and place them in a pot, and I will take good care of them. And soon, and very soon, they will become fully matured and ready to bloom. And I have great hopes that in next season, they will once again start their exciting journey through blossomhood. Now, as you guys know, from time to time I do like to take on rescue orchids. Now, these are all of the rescue orchids that I've done in the past, and also some that I am currently in the process of saving. Now, I have saved some Cattleyas. Also, I have done some Encyclias, and of course you guys know my very famous, beloved Maxillaria tenafolia that I've also managed to rescue. Now, the method that I have used for all of these are my hydration method, and if you guys have not seen that video, please watch it, because it is very beneficial, and I'm not just telling you that it works, I'm actually literally showing you that it indeed works. And I've used that hydration method for all of these orchids right here. So just for GP, and also for in case you encounter that situation where you find an orchid that's overly dehydrated and is hanging by the thread of life, you can definitely try to use that method. Now, this orchid right here is a Cattleya that was really in very bad shape. This right here is actually a new growth now. Well, now it's matured, but it was a new growth at the time. And this was actually the pseudobulb right here. And if I can show you just a little bit closer here, this pseudobulb was so wrinkled and it was so depleted that this was almost paper thin. I mean, it was very badly dehydrated. And also, if I can show you what the leaf looks like now, this is actually about 90% better than when I first seen the orchid. And the reason why you're seeing this crinkling right here is because the manager, when he was inspecting the orchid after I told him that it was in very bad condition, he proceeded to go ahead and flip this orchid. And I mean, with a mere flip of the finger, this whole leaf just folded and closed itself, and is the reason why you're seeing this mark right here. And I just simply could not believe that an orchid leaf, especially a Cattleya leaf, could do something like that, because as you guys know, these Cattleya leaves are very tough and very firm, and they cannot be folded over. So indeed, he just simply folded it over, and I was like, oh my gosh, see what happened to this leaf, guys. And I didn't know Cattleyas do this as well, especially when it's severely damaged, is that this actually created like a layer of mush. If you push down on it hard enough, you probably could leave your fingerprint on it. That's how thick that mush layer on this was. And if you just rubbed it, you would see the crinkling of the mush throughout the leaf. So it was in that bad of condition. I would never have believed that it could firm back up as it has done here, folks. I definitely did not think this would survive. Now, I used the hydration method on this as well. I didn't take this out of the pot, but I did just leave this in water, hydrating it overnight, and for about 3 days I went ahead and hydrated it for about 30 minutes, about 3 times a day. Then of course I put it out into my garden for about a week to acclimate it to the conditions outside and also the lighting. So for about a week and a half it was out there until it was acclimated, and now it's out in my garden doing very, very well with lots and lots of new growth. And of course this is another one. This is the red variety Cattleya that I have, and this was the same thing, very dehydrated and really hanging on by a thread, and as you can see now it has fully bounced back and doing very, very well. Now these ones I just recently did about a week and a half ago, and yeah, this was one of the worst conditions. I would say right next to the maxillaria, because this maxillaria was horrible, horrible. But yeah, this one was pretty bad here. And as you can see, this is the only thing that is left of the actual entire plant. The rest of the canes were just completely blackened and dead. But if you look right now, you will see that they are very, very firm. And this does have a new growth coming up. You cannot see it. I don't know if I can, because I really don't want to disturb it, but there is one that is coming up, a new growth. So indeed this has a chance, and it's looking rather well. Of course I haven't cut any of the leaves off because it needs all of the energy and the help that it can get. And of course you guys know that the sun is #1 resource for energy for the plants, so I will not cut the leaves because that's how it uses energy from the sun. This is another encyclia that was in very, very bad, horrible shape, and look, this is how bad it was. It actually cracked under the pressure of being in such bad condition. Yeah, this is cracked, but there's no wound. It's hardened and there's nothing that's rotting there. Of course you're seeing the black, but that's kind of the scarring of how badly it was dehydrated. Also, if we take a look over here, oh, so horrible. This was so much in critical condition that this is actually how it's healed. It actually kind of caved in here. Wow, that's how bad off this orchid was. But this area is hardened. There's no threat of rotting. This is just how it's healed. But I want to show you that indeed this was a new growth that it had, and it's grown, and you can see leaves coming up there. So it indeed is growing. And also if we take a look here, you will also find, and this wasn't there before as far as the new leaves coming out, it was just a little nubbin, and as you can see here, that's a new growth coming forth from this very injured, very damaged encyclia right here. Again, the hydrating method is what I used, and you see how well it really, you know, starts recovering. And of course this is my maxillaria orchid, and now you can't even tell that it was in such critical shape. It is blooming like crazy and new growths everywhere. So indeed that hydrating method is something else. And this is my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Cochleata orchid. And if we take a closer look, because I definitely want to show you that sheath, and now what appears to be the bud or the spike that's about to come here and grow through, and then eventually you will see the cockle shell or the octopus shaped orchid flowers. So definitely very, very excited. And of course you guys know I have a second sheath here. So definitely this is going to be an awesome adventure for me. And here we are, folks. This is an update on my Stanhopea. This is the one that I just got from eBay, and it's all potted up, and she is doing fine and dandy, loving her new home here. All of my brassavolas right here, different varieties. and they are doing really quite well. Here folks, we have our rescue orchid. This is that Vanda that was in that community container. So what's the big fuss about her? Well, if we take a closer look now, you will begin to see her new growths coming up. And if we look on the other side, you can also see some new growths coming up here root-wise, guys. There's 3 of them. So indeed, she is doing quite well. And who knows, folks, it's almost summertime. We might just get a spike from this little gal. Oh, and I did forget to mention that I got another Vanda variety orchid right here. This one is fragrant and also blooms a bluish purple color. And let's see what it says on her tag. It says Ascata Kalwadi Fragrance Dr. Anik, and it's crossed with Kalwadi Fragrance number 27. So yeah, she is a beautiful Vanda. And I figured since my Vandas were doing so well, and I have proven to myself that I can be committed to the Vanda variety, that indeed I took yet another one on. And of course, you guys remember my humunga dunga staghorn fern here alongside of my snowbush, and of course my birds of paradise and my beautiful cassava tree. So indeed, what a tropical display. Now these are the same orchids that I had in my other video. Again, they are in bloom. These are the secondary blossoms that they're putting out now. This one in particular actually was in my office building, and as you can see, it does not have any blooms now. It was a little bit weaker than this other one. But now that I've put it in my garden, if we take a closer look, you are beginning to see all of the secondary spikes also coming out now too. So soon this will be in bloom as well. This is a great blooming plant. It'll bloom its first blooms, and of course it'll drop, and then new spikes will form again, and then the second set of blossoms will come into full bloom. So again, Tolumnia orchids, just fabulous. And you guys remember my Certropodium, right? Remember these little guys? Well, they're not so little anymore, and I am so happy to see them growing so well. And this is my bamboo orchid. Now, with this bamboo orchid, this grows in clumps, and they can get quite massive. And also, the way this blooms is it will actually bloom a spike that is a sequential bloomer, meaning that it blooms one after the other. So what I noticed on this plant, guys, is indeed some type of new growth at the tip. And at first I thought it was going to be a spike. But to be quite honest with you, if we take a closer look, I'm not sure if this is going to be a spike, because usually spikes don't have foliage. And this definitely does. So I am assuming that this perhaps is growing a keiki of this bamboo orchid. Okay, right here, folks. This is a nubbins. So there indeed is another new growth. So hopefully that'll be a spike, because again, I really don't think this is going to be a spiker. Indeed, it's more of a leafer. And this is my very happy Miltonia flavescens orchid. And you guys know I've been having such a dilemma with the happy sap on this. But ever since I discovered it and kept a close eye on it and did what I needed to do to relieve her of all of the happy sap, she has been blooming well and has indeed been a happy camper without all of that happy sap. Okay, folks, so there's a lot of rumbling going on right now, and of course raindrops are falling on my head. And of course, guys, I have so many more orchids yet to cover, but I think I covered the majority that really had major progress. Definitely I'm gonna bring this to an end and just say thank you so much for tuning in on my updates and my progress in my garden. Thank you so much, folks, and indeed stay tuned for more.